Humanity Front Voting Campaign Part 4. Economic Inequality. If you accept economic inequality, please don't vote for Humanity Front. Our government will implement policies to reduce wealth disparities, promote fair wages, and ensure that everyone has access to basic needs and opportunities for economic advancement. Economic inequality refers to the uneven distribution of wealth, income, and resources among people in a society. It means that some individuals consume vast amounts of wealth and resources, while many others live in poverty with limited income and resources. Economic inequality can be seen in various forms, such as income inequality. Some people have very high incomes, while many others earn so little that they can't meet their basic needs. Wealth inequality. Some individuals hold vast assets and property, while others have little to no possessions. Opportunity inequality. Some people have better access to education, healthcare, and job opportunities, while others are deprived of these services. Regional inequality. Certain areas or countries are more prosperous, while others are underdeveloped or backward, leading to different standards of living. Gender inequality, economic disparities, and opportunities between men and women. Women often face lower wages and fewer opportunities. Economic inequality leads to social and economic problems like poverty, crime, health disparities, and social unrest. Solutions include policy changes, equal access to education and healthcare, and promoting employment opportunities. Environmental destruction. If you ignore environmental destruction, please don't vote for Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize environmental protection and sustainable development, aiming to preserve natural resources, reduce climate change, and safeguard biodiversity for future generations. Environmental destruction refers to the degradation of natural resources, ecosystems, and elements of the environment to the extent that they can no longer function properly. This can happen gradually or suddenly, and is often caused by human activities that disrupt environmental balance. Major forms include deforestation, large-scale cutting down of trees and forests, leading to soil fertility loss, wildlife habitat destruction, and accelerating climate change. Pollution, the accumulation of harmful chemicals and waste in water, air, and land, harming the environment and living beings. Climate change, excessive greenhouse gas emissions causing global warming, rising sea levels, and abnormal weather patterns. Overexploitation of natural resources, overuse of water, minerals, fossil fuels, and other natural resources leading to depletion and ecological imbalance. Biodiversity loss, the extinction or reduction of wildlife species, disrupting ecological balance. Land degradation, loss of soil quality, affecting agricultural productivity and local livelihoods. Environmental destruction negatively impacts nature and human life, leading to health problems, food crisis, and increased natural disasters. Sustainable development and environmental protection steps are necessary to prevent further damage. Domestic violence. If you overlook domestic violence, please don't vote for Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize preventing domestic abuse, supporting victims, and holding abusers accountable, working to create safe and supportive environments for all individuals and families. Domestic violence refers to physical, mental, emotional, or sexual abuse between individuals, particularly within families, that occurs within the home. It is usually aimed at controlling or harming another person. Key aspects include physical violence, assault, hitting, pushing, or any form of physical harm. Mental and emotional violence, insults, threats, intimidation, or psychological torment that affects a person's self-image and mental state. Sexual violence, rape, sexual exploitation, or coercion into sexual activities. Economic violence, controlling or limiting access to financial resources, restricting spending freedom, or forcing economic dependence. Monitoring and control, keeping strict control over someone's freedom, such as constantly monitoring their activities or restricting their social interactions. Domestic violence aims to keep the victim frightened, weak, and dependent. It can affect people of any gender, age, race, or social status and requires legal and social efforts to stop. Sex trafficking. If you ignore sex trafficking, please don't vote for Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize fighting sex trafficking, protecting victims, and holding traffickers accountable to end this form of exploitation and violence. Sex trafficking is a type of human trafficking where individuals are forced into sexual exploitation. Key aspects include coercion and fraud. Victims are forced or deceived into sex work through fraud, violence, or exploiting their vulnerable status. Exploitation. Trafficked individuals are forced into providing sexual services, which harms them physically and mentally. Profit and trade. Traffickers treat sex trafficking as a lucrative business, selling victims into various sectors of the sex industry. Legal and human rights violations. Sex trafficking violates human autonomy, dignity, and health. Strict legal measures, awareness campaigns, and support services are needed to combat sex trafficking and protect victims. Violence against the LGBTQ+ community. If you tolerate violence against the LGBTQ+ community, please don't vote for Humanity Front. Our government will promote equality, dignity, and safety for all individuals, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, and work to end discrimination and violence based on LGBTQ+ status. Violence against the LGBTQ+ community includes physical violence, attacks, injuries, or other types of physical harm against LGBTQ+ individuals. Psychological violence, threats, insults, and mental abuse that affect their self-esteem and mental health. Discrimination and unequal treatment. LGBTQ+ individuals face discrimination in education, employment, healthcare, and public services based on their gender identity or sexual orientation. Awareness campaigns, legal protection, and fostering inclusiveness are necessary to protect the rights and safety of LGBTQ+ individuals. 46. Forced labor in supply chains. If you ignore forced labor in supply chains, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will enforce strict regulations to prevent labor exploitation and ensure that products are ethically sourced, guaranteeing fair treatment and working conditions for workers worldwide. Forced labor in supply chains refers to situations where workers are illegally compelled to work in the production of goods or services without their consent, often under inhumane conditions. Forced labor typically occurs through debt bondage. Workers are forced to work to repay a debt or financial obligation, which can be unjust and unconstitutional. Threats or violence. Workers are coerced into labor through threats, fear of violence, or the confiscation of their documents. Lack of proper wages or rights. Workers are often paid extremely low wages, subjected to long hours, and made to work in poor conditions without being informed of their rights. Forced labor is particularly common in industries involved in raw material extraction, manufacturing, and distribution, such as the textile industry, agriculture, construction, and mining. The products generated through forced labor end up in global markets, becoming part of the final goods consumed by the public. Therefore, to eradicate forced labor, there is a need for oversight and reform in global supply chains to ensure that human rights are respected and that workers are treated with dignity and fairness. 47. Social isolation of senior citizens. If you neglect the social isolation of senior citizens, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize programs and services to combat the social isolation of the elderly, ensuring that every senior citizen enjoys a fulfilling life with strong community engagement. The isolation of senior citizens refers to circumstances where the elderly are socially, emotionally, or physically separated from the rest of society, whether intentionally or unintentionally. This isolation can have significant negative effects on their mental and physical health. The main causes of isolation include distance from family, elderly people being far from family or neglected by their relatives. Lack of social interaction, with advancing age, friends and relatives pass away, or physical limitations prevent participation in social activities. Health issues, physical ailments or mental illnesses like dementia can also contribute to isolation. Economic dependence, elderly people with limited financial means may be overlooked by family or society. Modern lifestyle, busy schedules, and work commitments often leave little time for family members to spend with the elderly. Consequences of isolation. Impact on mental health, loneliness, depression, anxiety, and a decline in self-esteem. Physical health deterioration, weakened immune systems, high blood pressure, heart disease, and other serious health problems. Overall decline in life quality, lack of emotional and social support can lead to a loss of interest and purpose in life. Solutions to combat isolation. Spending more time with elderly family members. Involving the elderly in social and community activities. Using technology to keep the elderly connected with family. Strengthening dedicated healthcare and social support systems for the elderly. Senior citizen isolation is a serious social issue that requires collective efforts from families, society, and the government to resolve. 48. Sexual exploitation in the entertainment industry. If you ignore sexual exploitation in the entertainment industry, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize efforts to tackle sexual harassment, abuse, and exploitation in the entertainment sector, ensuring a safe and equitable workplace for all artists and workers. Sexual exploitation in the entertainment industry refers to situations where individuals, particularly women and aspiring artists, are subjected to sexual harassment or abuse in exchange for career advancement or employment. This exploitation is often carried out by powerful individuals who misuse their influence to harm artists mentally or physically. Forms of exploitation include coercive demands for sexual relations without consent, unwarranted sexual advances by leveraging the fear of job loss, violating the sexual autonomy of artists and exploiting them. Such exploitation not only has severe mental and emotional effects on individual victims but also perpetuates inequality and oppression in the industry. 49. Hate crimes and xenophobic attacks. If you tolerate hate crimes and xenophobic attacks, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will condemn and address all forms of hate-driven violence and promote tolerance, diversity, and solidarity among all members of society. A hate crime refers to criminal acts committed against individuals or groups based on race, religion, nationality, gender, sexuality, disability, or other identity-based factors. The intent behind these crimes is not merely to cause physical harm but to express hatred or intolerance towards a person or group's identity. Xenophobic attacks refer to violence driven by fear, hatred, or intolerance against foreigners or those perceived as outsiders, such as migrants or refugees. Xenophobia, meaning the fear of foreigners, often manifests as prejudice and violence against those seen as strangers or foreigners. Both hate crimes and xenophobic attacks contribute to the promotion of hatred, inequality, and division in society, with severe consequences at both personal and societal levels. 50. Forced sterilization. If you accept forced sterilization, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will uphold bodily autonomy and reproductive rights, oppose any form of coercion, and ensure that all individuals are free to make informed decisions about their bodies and futures. Forced sterilization refers to a medical procedure that ends an individual's reproductive ability without their consent. This procedure is often carried out by governments or institutions as a means of population control, ethnic or cultural cleansing, or suppression of specific communities. Forced sterilization strips individuals of their bodily autonomy and reproductive rights and is considered a severe violation of human rights. It is often targeted at poor, minority, indigenous, disabled, or marginalized communities, depriving them of the ability to have children. The impact of forced sterilization extends beyond the physical, causing deep emotional, social, and psychological harm. The purpose of such sterilization practices is often to control, exploit, or weaken specific groups, making it an unjust and unethical practice. Thank you.